This is PBS.
About Your House with Bob Yep is brought to you by
In past places and future spaces, from main streets to back roads, we're helping Americans bring preservation home. The National Trust for Historic Preservation.
Welcome to today's program, and we call it Outside and Underfoot. Well, what we're going to talk about is the stuff you'll walk on and play on, patios, sidewalks, driveways, those types of things. Now, there are right ways to put stuff like that in and wrong ways, and there's also some interesting ways to take care of problems that happen with existing things. Now, what I want to show you here is some settling of a driveway. You can see right here where the crack is, how one section, the lower section, is actually dropped below that level. Then where the driveway meets the garage, major settling. Now the culprit most likely is this downspout not being maintained over the years and dumping water right underneath the slab and causing it to compact. Another way that can happen is if a builder builds a house and they put in the backfill and it doesn't get compacted well, or it's the wrong kind of soil, that kind of settling can happen as well. Hey Howard, come over here for a second. This is Howard, and he owns the company that what we're going to show you right now, which is called mud jacking, and I just love this process. I mean, it really is neat because it's affordable. Now, tell us a little bit about what you're going to do here.
Okay, well, the initial process is they're going to use an electric hammer, and they're going to drill holes in the slab.
Okay.
Once they have accomplished that, then they're going to mix a batch of concrete, masonry, sand, and bentonite clay on the truck.
That yucky looking slurry over
Yeah, the gray
okay,
stuff
yeah.
in there. And then they're going to pump that underneath the slabs. And what they're going to accomplish is by raising this slab up to the garage floor level and then matching these other slabs to the raised slab.
So by pressurizing that slurry down in there, it'll magically bring it up.
That's correct.
Well, that'll be great. Now, what makes this a good process over tearing all this out and putting in a new concrete slab?
Well, first of all, it's a very economical solution to settled concrete. By comparison, you're looking at $1.90 to $4 a square foot
right.
to mud jack it, by comparison to $6 to $8 a square foot to tear it out and replace it.
Well, that's about 2/3 cheaper than putting in a new driveway.
That's correct.
That's great. Can you get the guys over here and let us see
Sure
what's
can.
going on? All right. Now, of course, the first thing you have to do is get a big, beefy drill with a masonry bit on the end of it and drill holes into the concrete. Now, it takes a lot of oomph because it's about 4 inches thick. Now, the other thing you have to remember is to keep that slurry or mud mixed up well, because it won't go through the hoses if you don't. It's real important. Now, the hose comes over. You see that little nipple on the end of it? He's got the rod on it. It actually fits down into the hole. And what I want you to watch carefully is how the concrete rises as he's pumping this mud in there. And you can just see it starting to rise on the garage slab a little bit there, and it'll come all the way up to the top, but he's got to go back and forth a little bit at each time. Now, this is the sand. They mix it in. It's masonry sand, bentonite, and concrete, but it has to be mixed up and has to be loaded in often. Now, here's another spot where the crack was offset before, if you remember, and he's got it pumped in just about enough to get it level. Howard, it really is an amazing process watching that slab come up like that. I really appreciate you letting us come and watch.
You're welcome.
You can do this with patios, sidewalks, you name it. This process really works. Watch it rise. Another good alternative if your driveway's cracked and in pretty bad shape is to put asphalt over it. Now recently my wife Pat and I were in Paris and they even put asphalt on the sidewalks. We don't do that too much here in the States because it's a little hot on bare feet, but driveways are great. Now look at this. This is really loose and all this is broken out. This driveway's in really bad condition. We can't put asphalt on it, but I want to show you one that we can. While that driveway was completely shot and you can't put asphalt on it, this one's not bad. It's really stable. There aren't a lot of chunks coming out of it all over. The expansion joints have some cracks in them, but it makes an ideal bed for a good asphalt job. Now, I've asked Chris Oswinkle to come by. He's the owner of the asphalt company. Good to see you. Good to see you. Boy, these guys are kind of making a mess back there.
Yeah,
Well, what are they actually doing? This is part of the prep?
Yeah, it's a prep. What they're doing there is, we'll call it an asphalt glue. We call it a tack coat. And they put this down to bind the asphalt to the concrete surface.
Acts like a glue.
Yes, it does.
And if you didn't use it, what could happen?
Well, if you didn't use it, the asphalt could slip, just like two surfaces that aren't glued.
Slide down or buckle up? Or...
We have the steeper hill here. It'd be good. You have to have it glued, especially when we start to roll it. All the asphalt will end up down the hill if we don't got it tacked.
You don't want that.
And also it keeps the moisture, water out from underneath of it. And
Okay, so the next step then is what? To lay the asphalt.
yeah.
Now, can you get that big machine up this far past this gate?
Well, not today. We're going to have to back our truck up here, and we're going to have to do all this by hand.
On the back part, but you'll be able to use the big machine on the lower part of the drive?
Yeah, we'll do that. It'll be a little wide. We'll just chop it off.
Man, they're getting close to us. We better get out of the way and
Okay.
watch the process. Let's get out of their way.
Well, the guys are going to keep squeegeeing this tack coat down. I like to call it asphalt glue, actually, because, well, it's just like he said, it actually keeps the asphalt from sliding around. They're going to get it squeegeed out all over and let it set up and everything. But there's one other thing they have to do right away, and that's get some asphalt and fill these cracks. You see that expansion joint? They've cleaned it all out, and they're starting to put all this asphalt down into the crack. Now, they're going to have to do it all the way up and down the driveway, so a little shovelful won't work. They're going to have to get some more out, that's for sure. And this process is really important because if they fill up the cracks properly and then they roll it over and tamp it down, it's going to make the concrete level in essence, so that when they lay the big layer of asphalt down, it'll all be smooth and won't have any dips. And they're power tamping it right now to get that down level with the concrete. It's very, very important. And you can see there's water pouring out of that tamper too. That keeps things a little bit cooler. Now they're going to start putting all this asphalt up in the area where they can't get the great big machine, which is a paver. They're going to have to do this all by hand. So they're laying it all out, and the key here is to spread it out evenly. Now, as soon as that end loader gets it all down there, these guys are taking those squeegees again and spreading it out nice and even. And that's real important to the process, because if it's not, it's going to look bad and you're going to get water pooling up all over the place. Now, another really important step to this, of course, is to tamp it. Now, they're going to hand tamp it with this power tamper. This is by hand, walking it just like a lawnmower. It's even got a lawnmower engine on it, actually. But this is real important, especially around the edges. Now, remember, they can't get the big machine up there to lay it down, so it's real important to do the tamping. Keeps it nice and even. They're even hand tamping it up against the wall, and you can see these guys are doing it very neatly. They're not making a mess. Now, this is the power roller. I'd like to get on this machine myself, but they wouldn't let me. I don't know why. And it's really rolling it down, tamping it down very, very hard. You know, asphalt makes a great surface for a driveway, but if it's not laid properly and it's not rolled and tamped, then it just won't last. And it's an important element to the whole process. Now they're going to start loading up this great big gigantic paver, which is what they wanted to use, but they could only use it on the lower part of the driveway. And what this does is it lays that asphalt nice and even all the way down the drive. And of course, they'll have to come back, and you see how hot it is. They'll have to come back and do some more rolling and tamping and those types of things. And they clean up the edges with shovels to get it out of the grass and make it a nice even edge. Real important stuff. You know, if you're going to have asphalt put down, make sure you're hiring somebody that knows what they're doing, because if they come and they don't know what they're doing, they don't follow all these steps like rolling and tamping and getting it all right, you're going to have some serious problems, and the job is just not going to last.
It's a very hot process, and I do mean hot. And there's a couple things you have to remember. First of all, between 1.5 and 2 inches is the thickness that you want to make sure that it's being put down. That's very important. Now, as far as costs are concerned, you're looking at an average around $1 a square foot. This particular driveway was 1,000 square feet. It was $1,000. It's a very, very good driveway, and they're finishing it up right now, cleaning up the edges, getting everything going. It's beautiful. It'll last a long time. Now, if your asphalt person says, look, we want to put a sealer on it right away, say no way. You need to wait for a couple of months before you put a sealer down. And it's really important that you get 2 coats. Very thin is better than a real thick coat of sealer, but it's something you want to do down the road. Now, they can do it or you can do it. You can go to the lumber yard or the hardware store and buy the sealer. Sometimes I think it's better just to have the asphalt company come back and do it for you. Hey, makes a great driveway surface. A lot of times that a driveway and a sidewalk, they can't be repaired. You have to replace them. We're standing on a pretty nasty driveway right now, and this is John. His company repairs and replaces driveways and sidewalks. This one's pretty bad. I'm kind of surprised how bad it is.
It's probably thin, and it's got all the different cracks with the grass growing through.
What causes it to sink in like that, you know?
Well, a lot of it is probably the thickness of it. It's probably only 3 inches thick or something, and they should be about 4 to 5 inches.
4 to 5 inches, yeah.
In there
so,
to hit on it.
How much of a hassle is it for a homeowner to pull all this out? I mean, they're pulling it up with this big machinery and putting it in the truck and hauling it away. Is it a day, 2 days?
It's a day to tear it out, maybe 2 days to put it back, to come through.
And how long before they can drive on it from beginning to end?
Oh, usually 5 days. We usually make from 5 days after we're done, so maybe 8 days total.
Okay, so that's not too bad.
In that category.
So what do you charge? How do you charge somebody for something like this?
We charge anywhere from $3 to $4 a square foot.
Now, that's a good average too, based on what I've been reading about different areas of the country. We in the Midwest have the average prices for just about everything. So $3 to $4 a square foot is what they can expect.
Pretty much. Should we step out of the way here? It looks like she's on
Yeah.
her.
Well, what I want to know is, are you going to let me drive this?
I doubt it, Bob.
Oh, come on. You're not going to let me drive it?
No.
Oh, well, that was worth a shot anyway. Well, of course, anytime you replace a driveway, you've got to take the concrete out. And even though he wouldn't let me drive the backhoe, it's fun to watch it beat the heck out of this concrete. These things are amazing in how strong they are and how much weight they can pick up. Look at the size of this slab. It's unbelievable. He's going to pick that baby up and lay it on the back of that truck. And of course, then they'll take it out to the landfill. That's where it all ends up. Now, there's a couple other things. Like, first of all, they have to put in crushed limestone. Now, this stuff's about the size of a silver dollar. Some of it's the size of a quarter. And then they tamp it. Hey, theme. Tamping things that you lay in driveways and sidewalks. We use tampers a lot. It's very important. Now, you have to have a form as well. And John's putting in a form right now, 2x4, so the concrete can come right up to it. And it'll make a beautiful driveway. Well, prep is really important, and since we were here yesterday, you've laid out all the wire mesh and the rock. Now, you did the rough grading first, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then you came in and laid this crushed limestone in here. And then the wire. But now, I see this machine over here again. Now, what
We get
happened?
her leveled pretty close, and we pull a string line from form to form and kind of check our grade with a tape. And
Make sure you're getting the right fall and
right
everything.
thickness and that for it, and then we run that compactor over it, and compactor kind of brings it about 100%, 98%.
So you're not going to get as much settling in the driveway if you
Right.
compact it properly.
That is right.
Okay, and the wire mesh adds some strength to the concrete?
It doesn't really add a whole lot of strength to the concrete, but it holds it together so it doesn't separate.
Okay, so if you do get a crack, then it kind
It
of stays
holds it.
together.
That is correct to come
All right.
through.
Now, over here we have this expansion joint material. It's kind of a tar paper impregnated stuff that goes between the slabs where you put, as you put it, dummy cracks, which are actually control cracks that will you saw those in, or they'll just be natural because of
We
this
will
material?
put a hand tool down through them, and then we'll
Okay.
come back and saw them down about halfway through.
Okay, and that's supposed to control any cracking and keep it on those lines.
Right, the frost kind of moves the concrete around, and that
Right.
kind of stops it all from, makes
All
it
right.
crack where it's supposed to.
And then one other thing that you do a lot of times, and I know you said you couldn't do it on this garage, is that just kind of like a pier footing for a deck, go down below frost line and pour a footing if the garage is attached to the house.
Right.
Because the footing is the same as the house footing.
Correct.
And it can rest down there on that footing. But this
Now-
one's detached, right?
Right.
So we can't do that.
Right. What it does, it kind of, that fill kind of settles down in there, and that pillar will keep the driveway up to height.
Okay, sounds good. So then that would keep everything kind of more level instead of sinking down.
Right.
Okay, well
It's a
that's
common problem.
something for people to remember. Now, when you pour this concrete, what kind of concrete are you going to use? Something special, or?
Just regular 4,000-pound concrete
4,000 pound.
with fiber mesh in it. We'll put fiber mesh
Now
in
that's
it.
a kind of a fiberglass mesh of some sort that helps keep it stronger.
It kind of holds it together. It
Yeah.
keeps it from getting little cracks and things like that.
Now, a
on it.
lot of times you see driveways where the top surface is spalting off and coming off and everything, and I know I keep hearing it's because of moisture. What's that all about?
A lot of times the people pour their concrete too wet, and other the salt from being here in the Midwest, you get a lot of salt dripping off your cars and that really is hectic on it.
So you don't want to have the surface too wet when you're finishing it off. You want
Right.
to keep it as dry as you can so
That's
that you get
correct.
a nice hard top on it.
That's right.
Makes sense to me. We'll see the finished product here in a little bit.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, John, it'll happen. But first you have to bring the truck in and get the concrete to where you want to pour it. And that's done with wheelbarrows. A lot of work, but you just have to get it where it goes. Now they're going to spread this all out. It's that 4,000-pound fiber mesh concrete. But you have to take this rake and pull that wire mesh up into the concrete. If it's laying underneath the concrete, it's not going to do its job controlling those little cracks that you might get. And then, of course, they have to screed it off and then bull float it. Now, here is a bull float. A bull float drives the aggregate down into it and brings the Portland to the top for the nice hard surface. Okay, John, we're looking at a sidewalk here. It looks like a little bit different setup than the driveway it's next to. Tell me what you got going on here.
Normally pour our sidewalks at around 4 inches where the driveway was thicker, and we had a lot of rock in the last one. This one here, the ground was hard and it was hard clay.
Yeah, it
and-
looks like hard clay. You've already compacted it too, haven't you?
Correct.
Yeah. Now, you've got a staircase going down to the driveway over here with wire mesh. Why wire mesh?
The wire mesh kind of bends better around the step than, say, the rods would to come through.
A little extra strength. And then you said that there was a sewer pipe running from the house underneath here, and normally you wouldn't put what we call a reinforcement bar, which is what this is, into a sidewalk, but because of that sewer pipe, you want...
The old sidewalk kind of bellied down like this, and we don't want that to happen this time.
So this gives it more strength.
Right.
Well, that makes sense. And then, of course, it comes up here and wraps around to the house right over here. So you're out ready to go, aren't you?
That we are.
All right, well, one question. Now, when you're pricing sidewalks, how do you price them per foot?
Pretty kind of the same price as you would a driveway because there's so little of it where there's so much on a driveway.
Okay.
$3 to $4.
$3 to $4 a square foot.
Correct.
Okay, good. Let's go do it. Let's see if
Alrighty.
we can get some stuff over here. Concrete. Is that enough?
Yeah,
It's definitely enough because you don't want to overload a wheelbarrow, that's for sure, because they're hard enough to wheel. Now, my crew was convinced I wouldn't do this. But listen, guys, I do this all the time. I'm in the construction business. That's what it's all about. And when you're toting a wheelbarrow, it's a good idea to have a little ramp so you can get a little running start on it. Get that wheelbarrow right up to the edge of the form so you can dump it in there instead of all over the grass, because that would be a serious bummer. Not that I've ever done anything like that before. It's really the same process as doing a driveway. You screed it off, you bull float it, and it looks great when it's done because these guys know what they're doing.
Well, the driveway turned out beautiful. You can see as it's swooping back, all the grades are right. The finish is beautiful, the expansion joints, everything's there. And the sidewalk's going to turn out just as exactly the same as what you're seeing here. It all looks beautiful. The point is, the steps that we've given you are the steps that you need to make sure your contractor's taking when he's pouring a sidewalk or a driveway for you. Hey, Dano, what are you up to?
Oh, hi, Bob. How you doing?
Yeah, I saw your wife out here pulling all these bricks up the other day. I thought, well, she's got a little job for Dan.
Yeah, well, she's been working at me to get this going for a while.
Well, this isn't neat. Now, why'd you pull up all the original bricks? This is the same stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it seems kind of funny, but the subgrade was off. It was all settled out and it had like a belly in it.
Settled
where
in
it
the
was
middle.
Yeah, it was sagged in the middle, and it was hard to shovel snow off it. There was pieces that were broke that were heaved up.
And it had a whole bunch of weeds growing out of it and
Right.
stuff, too. It looked pretty bad.
Right.
But now, he was tamping in the background, Damien back there, your guy, and that's really important to tamp down. But what's he tamping here? What is this?
Well, it's a waste product from making crushed stone. It's limestone material. It has a lot of fines in it and enough courses that it's good and solid, and it bonds
it's got
together.
a little moisture in it.
Right, it bonds together real well, and it makes like a flexible concrete. It sounds like you know,
For the frost heaving that we have in the Midwest?
Yeah, so you get a good solid base to support the bricks and good flotation, and yet it'll move with the frost, the freezing and thawing conditions. So really works out real well for this here.
That's great. Now this is your string line, so you know how high you want the bricks. And then of course you're going to want to pitch it this way. It looks like is that why you're using this for a screed?
Right. Yeah, pretty hard on the level,
Let's
but it's a tool to use. And
so you're just pulling it back.
Yeah, you just take it and you just, I mean, once you get used to it, you kind of just let the left end of it, you kind of follow it along with that, and then just every so often just check the.
And then you're putting some bricks in and tamping them, huh?
Right. As you put them in, you just take and tamp them down, get them set real firm.
Well, now over here are some bricks that are different kinds, and this is actually one of Dan's bricks that he pulled up from the sidewalk. And it looks like a regular building brick. It's a little bit darker, but it's very dense, a real hard-fired brick, and that's what you want for a brick sidewalk. Now, streets, have you ever seen a paved street? They're out there, and that's what this is a brick paver for a street, and it even has the name on it. Usually you don't put the name up, you put the narrow side up for a brick. And then at the full-service lumber yard or your brick and tile store, you can buy brand new pavers. You can get them in this color too, and they work out real well. Now, for a brick like this, you're looking at anywhere from 15 to 30 cents a piece. And for a brick like this, you could be paying an old one like this as much as 75 cents a piece. And at the lumber yard, somewhere around 50 cents. So you've got a range of, say, 15 cents all the way up to as high as $1 if you've got some really nice ones. They make great sidewalks. Well, Dan's finished doing this section of sidewalk, and I tell you what, it's a herringbone pattern, and it looks spectacular. Now you can do bricks in lots of different patterns at your house, and it will make your house look great. We've talked about sidewalks, brick sidewalks, but look at the incredible amount of choices you have for a patio. Now you can do a concrete patio, and we'll talk about that, but you can also get brick pavers and all kinds of poured products. Now these are concrete, but they're colored, and there are all kinds of pavers like this. I mean, the choices are amazing. These babies are really heavy. I mean, look at that thing. Isn't that neat? And they interlock, and there's all kinds of things like that to work with. Now over here, we have the pavers, just like we were looking at before with the old sidewalk look. But these are brand new, and they have little spacers in them, so you can get the sand in between the stones when they're together, like that. So there's a space in between. Gosh, it's really neat stuff. So with all these choices, if you want to do it yourself, you can come out here and pick what you want. But even if you're going to use a contractor, you have a place to come, pick what you want, and go to town. Good girl, Jess. This is Jess, and I'm out on a patio out here in the country that was just poured. You know, concrete patios are the old standby, and they've been around for a long time. But leave it to the creativity of American mind. We have what we call exposed aggregate. And this kind of looks like the old English driveways of compacted pea gravel and crushed limestone. It's a neat patio. I really like it. It's well done. You're looking at $3 to $4 a square foot, plus a little extra bump for the exposed aggregate. Of all the materials used to put patios together, brick is my absolute favorite. I just love brick patios. I've asked Mark Klein to stop by. Mark, good to see you.
Hi, Bob. Good to see you.
Now, you designed this really neat patio here. It's all the swirls coming together and the circles. That's nice.
Thank you very much.
How'd you come up with this?
Well, we were looking for something different than the usual rectangular or square patio, and this really fit in with the site.
It just turned out great. You obviously gave the homeowner the vision.
Yep, tried to.
Now, what I think is interesting is that these are not site-cut bricks. These look like they came from the factory this way.
That's exactly right. They're a modular product designed to make any radius of circular patio from 2 feet out to 20 feet.
That's really neat. And it has a little beveled edge here.
Right, that chamfered edge keeps you from catching your toe if one moves up a little bit. Helps you if you want to shovel the patio in the winter.
That's really smart.
Yep.
Now, we know from this show that compacting the ground underneath driveways, sidewalks, and patios is really important. How'd you prep for this?
Right, it's a key ingredient. We excavate 6 to 8 inches. We install the limestone screenings, a real fine limestone.
Okay.
And then we compact that every 2 to 3 inches with a machine. And when we're finished with that, we have a hard surface to set this patio on.
You put a little bit of sand on top of that stone?
Just to finish it off, take out imperfections, and then we set the block.
Okay. And then you'll fill sand into all the cracks.
Right.
And then compact it again?
Yep, that final compaction locks all the blocks together and works that sand down in so they don't move at all.
Boy, this is going to be really well built. Lasts a long time. What are you talking about price-wise for something like this? This is pretty fancy.
Yeah, it's fancy, but it's amazing with these new products. $11, $12 a square foot is real reasonable, and that's what it costs to put them in.
That's great.
Yeah.
You can expect to pay anywhere from $10 to $15 a square foot, depending on where you are in the country and how fancy you want to get with your brick patio. Now, we've talked about mud jacking, driveways, sidewalks, and patios. There's a lot of things that are under your feet outside. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I'm Bob Yap, about your house.
About Your House with Bob Yap was partially underwritten by the National Trust for Historic Preservation.
In past places and future spaces, from main streets to back roads, we're helping Americans bring preservation home. The National Trust for Historic Preservation.